might... It's hard. I want to turn up my mic and down the desktop audio. So then you can go up. Let's see. How's this doing? Is that good? I think that's a pretty fine balance. I'm gonna turn the desktop audio down a tish more, but that's fine. Okay. Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Sikion Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar. I don't know why I'm so nervous for this. I think it's because I haven't done a quarterly video. It feels like it's been a lot longer than it has, because, you know, obviously it's been a quarter. It's been, can you see the cat? Oh, this way. This cat causing mischief in my window. Bet money she is going to knock one of my Funko Pops off of my AC, which you also can't see their Funko Pops there. But it feels like it's been so long since I've done one of these, and it's not because I, like, length of time wise, it has been significantly longer than my usual between quarterly time frame. It is probably just because, if you can see from the lovely little graphic down here, I've read more books than I usually do get through in a year, and that has led to a lot more streams and just a lot of doing my book streams that in a different way than this is going to be. But also because I have read a lot more books, I kind of need to do my book stream differently than I usually would. Like, you don't want me to sit through for all, like, it's still not a big number. It's like 10, 15 books. But you don't want me to sit through and, like, read the description of all of those. And also, I didn't like all of these books. So I don't want to sit through and read the description for all of these. And so because of that, I'm going to read the descriptions for books that I, like, really, really liked. Otherwise, I'm gonna summarize, give some like info on how I liked it, why I rated it the way that I do, and move along, keep it pushing. Of note, I don't know if I've ever really, like, said before, the way I rate books is 5 stars is book that I am basically already planning on rereading. 4 stars is a book that, like, if I come across it, I'd pick it up again. 3 stars is like, you know, it was I'm glad I read it once. 2 stars is like, maybe it just needs another chance, but right now it's just, I'm not feeling it. And 1 star is, I could not bring myself to recommend this book to anyone else. And with that being said, how do I zoom into this? What? God, I miss Miro. I was not using it enough to justify paying for it, but oh my God, is Canva not actually designed well for this? It's not nearly as good. So here are, let's, I guess, zoom out a little bit more. Trying to see what all, like, because it's weird because what's actually showing up in the box is not what's on the full thing for this. It's weird. But these are the novels that I read. There might also be, some of these also might be considered novellas. We're just gonna throw them together. You don't need to see that one yet. These are the novels that I read this quarter. I think I'm gonna start from the bottom up. Let's just get it over with. Jesus. No, you're good. Jesus does not need to get involved. First off is one that I just can't say quite a ton about. It is a beta read that I did for Amy Donnellan, it is a book in the series of hers, Catastrophe Incoming. I beta read book 2, absolutely loved it. I actually just finished the arc I got of it, And I'm going to be doing, my next stream is going to be talking about both of the book 1 and 2 of Catastrophe Incoming, and it's so good. If you haven't already read book 1, if you haven't heard about book 1 of Catastrophe Incoming, Amy Donnellan, I highly recommend checking it out. I also recommend pre-ordering book 2, but we will be streaming and talking about those soon. Next up is The Sun and the Void. So I changed my rating on this book between when I streamed it and now. And the reason is, so the book is about like these 2 girls who are in this like world that has its own like bigotry and stuff. It has its own bigotry. It has its own like systems of oppression and stuff like that. And but there's also magic in the world. And this evil god, that you have 2 gods, a good and an evil, and they're trying to bring back the evil god to gain his favor for like a bunch of different reasons. The reason I didn't like this book is because it was giving me colorism ick. And at first I was like, maybe like some of it I'm like reading too much into. And I don't even think I was reading too much into it. I think some of the points I had were valid, but it's also what I think was potentially a reason why I didn't want to be taken too, like I wanted to just hold off on like feeling strongly about it, was because I just was not like in-depth line and analyzing the book, and so like maybe there was something I didn't catch, and there was. And it turns out that the big bad of the book was also a dark-skinned black woman. There's so many other issues with the book, including like you have this dark-skinned black, like there's a major issue I had with the book of there's so many people who are just going along with this story. You can't actually convince me that all of them can have all of the skills that they have, can have all of the authority and knowledge that they have, and yet are so easily manipulated by this woman. And then she turns out to be a dark-skinned black woman, and it's like, oh, she's just taking advantage of the innocent light skins. And it grossed me out. Adding that change in there grossed me out so much. The reason why I was like, I want to see if this, I used to be like, maybe there's a good chance this author might be able to handle it better in the second book. I no longer have those feelings. I no longer think I trust this author with these types of topics. And so I just, 1 star. I feel too grossed out by it to recommend it to anyone, and I have no interest in the next book, and that's it. That's not great. The Dark Place. This one, so far, most of the books here, half of them, I lied to you, half of the books here. So The Sun and Void, Dark Place, The Phoenix King, and Monstrous all already have streams that I did for them on this channel. So you can check those out after we hang out here. The next one, The Dark Place, you have a girl who's like teleporting in time and space and shit, and like it's also related to the death of her brother or disappearance of her brother, and it deals with it's like, honestly, again, this is a book I just could not recommend, and I don't want it. I get so fucking exhausted every time I talk about this book. It is coming back up in a video that I am doing on bad book parents, but that's like, there were horrible parents in this book that the book just refused to like outright say were like neglectful parents, even like going so far as to have her apologize for reacting to their neglect, and I did not like that. But the like main reason why I 1-starred it was because there was like this running theme of lying, and instead of focusing that on the parents who were lying to her, and were like, you could talk about like the history of Black parents and Black families sweeping pain and mental health struggles under the rug, but instead she focused on like this like idea that like this boy she just met, because the second they met, he didn't tell her every single thing about himself. He was not comfortable with her enough to tell her every single thing like about him that they could relate to, because he didn't say that the first fucking day, and instead waited until the like third day that they'd seen each other. He was lying to her. It was like, I absolutely hate the idea of like teaching teens that like, yes, someone might be able to benefit from relating to you on a topic, but that does not mean that they are entitled to you. You are allowed to have boundaries. And this book was just super against that. And I hated it. There was also a fucking very forced line, like through line throughout the book that like pissed me off. It just pissed me off. If I 0 out of 10, frankly, for this book, I can't wait to never see this book cover again. This is another one where it's like, I don't know if I could ever read from this author again, just because of how it reminded me of The Code of Silence, which that book review I did on my other channel, but that was recently brought back onto this channel, re-uploaded onto this channel. It reminded me of The Code of Silence, in which it had such a poorly understood, lack of nuance discussion on the concept of lying, and I hated it so much. Burned the whole thing. Next, The Phoenix King. This one I had more complex feelings about. This is about a world of like magic and tech. The city of Ravens is about to undergo a coronation for our main character, Elena, I believe is her name. And but she doesn't know how to control fire, which is like the main thing about the like ruler of Ravens. And her father won't tell her, but there's like a reason why he doesn't want to tell her, but he's still not telling her, so she thinks that there's something wrong with her. And the way that breaks down their relationship, I really, really liked. But the twist you have towards the end of the book destroys like all of the things I was actually interested in the book. It destroys that. There's also parts of Elena where she has to like kind of lie and manipulate the people in order to do what is best for them, but she still is like conflicted with that. You kind of bring that up, but like not in a way that feels even similar to what it was before, if that makes sense. It's very different, the scenario that she's put in compared to that earlier like development, that character development earlier. Like even one time it seemed like the author was trying to connect it to like, oh my god, I killed all of these people, am I okay with killing all these people? I mean, they were like actively trying to assassinate you. It was literally either you or them. They were literally hunting you down. So I don't know if that one counts. But like, so that storyline, that character development didn't feel like it really connected all the way through. I gave 0 fucks about the romance. Like, I could not care less about the romance that was going on, but that was like the focus of the last fourth of the book, and so I didn't care. I just did not care at all. If you're interested, when you go to my stream about the Phoenix King, I actually do have some theories on that one, so that might be interesting. That might intrigue you. A Tale of Hijinks and Honeydews. I was planning on doing a stream for this one. That was actually what was going to be the stream for the one for today, but I realized as I was like planning it, everything I wanted to talk about was less about the book and more about the concept of cozy books. And I feel like that's either something I'd rather do like a quick chat here with, or if I feel a need to do a full stream, I'll do that. But so I'm just gonna do a quick breakdown of that book, So the tale of hijinks is honeydews is you have this mermaid who lives on land, and she, because she's a mermaid that lives on land, she can't walk and uses a wheelchair. She uses a wheelchair or crutches to get around. She lives in a town that is like known almost for its hero and for being like a hero center. And because the hero, especially this particular hero, is extremely egotistical, a big thing that always happens is the hero brings monsters and whatnot to their town to get attention. Always brings it to her. She has this fruit stand that she uses to sell things and like have some autonomy and do something as well. She's trying to gain money to leave town. Always brings it to her fruit stand so they can save the wheelchair user, and always end up destroying her wheelchair and making her life horrible, destroying her stand, destroying all her fruit. The hero's sidekick, Quincy? We're going with Quincy. Quincy and Winnie, I believe, is the mermaid. The sidekick is the child of an extremely wealthy family, and they always end up paying Winnie back for the damages. It's a little dance that they do. One day we find out that because of all of all of the monster attacks and how dangerous things are, even though it's all manufactured, we're gonna bring in the city's gonna have an official second hero, and so they start a contest for that. Quincy, our love interest. Most of this is about romance. Our love interest, Quincy, they want to be the second hero. Problem is, you have to be full blessed in order to win, and they're only partially blessed. They are shapeshifter, but they can only shapeshift one arm. So they're using Winnie and Quincy make a deal that she'll help them to try and like cheat some of the different things that they need, cheat some of the different events in order to help Quincy get that second hero position. Quincy is paying her, and also promises that they'll try and cut down or completely stop all of the harassment of her and her poor little fruit stand. And they, of course, fall in love. Cat, Chip. You wanna come sit in my lap? We might have a cat. Come here, baby. You want to come here? Oh, God, I broke things. It's fine. Come here, baby. Come on. While we wait for him to decide what he wants. So the whole thing is like primarily focused on romance, on the relationship between Winnie and Quincy as they start to bond, and it was a really fun time. Winnie's like a little bit of a jackass, which is my type. We love it. And Quincy is very much like an autistic character. Come here. But also, like, as they start to get used to Winnie and start to figure out how Winnie talks and how Winnie interacts and engages, Quincy also becomes like a little bit of a jackass, and we love to see that growth. I loved the book. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I would read it again. My issue with the book is it felt underdeveloped. I want to call it a character story, but it's not. Like, I don't know. Like, I know things about the characters, but I wouldn't really say there was much of a character arc for either of them, aside from that they, like, fall for each other, if that makes sense. And it's also part of, like, neither of them were characters I remember well. Like, I read this a couple weeks ago, and I had to look up, I had to open the book and figure out what their names were. And I'm only 20% sure Quincy is the love interest's name. I also felt like the plot was underdeveloped, and that seemed like a thing the author was very intentionally doing. And it felt like that was how the author interpreted the concept of a cozy fantasy, was to the main conflict, or the finale, the big last contest that they have, felt very rushed. And in the arc notes the author had for the book, they even asked if they should be more vague about that scene. And it's weird for me because I haven't read a ton of cozy mystery, but I've read 2 different cozy mystery series, and one of them I really adore, but let's be honest, there are a lot of cozy mystery TV shows, some with animal leads. Hopefully you're catching along, but for strike reasons, we're not actually going to say names. But in that sense, I'm very familiar with cozy mysteries, and it never, the plot was never, a cozy mystery for me has always been that it's not gory, it's not maybe an extremely, I don't want to say intellectual, but you don't have to process too many things at once. It's not a master puzzle of a story, but it's not a extremely complex mystery, it's not an extremely complex story, but you still follow through with the plot that has the characters doing stuff from the beginning. And I feel like we just didn't do that with this. And there is a point where, because of chronic pain flare-ups, the main character does not end up going to one of the competitions, and I have no problem with that. That actually, I think that was written really well. It's just when you do get to this part that she was actually a part of, it's the pacing of it felt like we weren't really wrapping up what had been started. We were just trying to get it over with, as opposed to tie those loose ends. There's a point where they hog tie their original hero, and I get why they would, but I don't get why they are at that point. I love this author's writing. I have several more books by them, and I do want to read them. I just don't know if I want to continue their cozy fantasy, if this is the route that they're going to go down, because I feel like I will find myself feeling unsatisfied with these stories over time. But at the moment, I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved some of the conversations about disability that we got to have. It was a good time. Suspended Miles Morales. I think Monstrous is probably going to be the only one I'm going to read the actual description for, and it's because I'm obsessed with that book. Let's do Suspended Miles Morales by Jason Reynolds. So this book is in verse. It's half in verse, half in, not prose, but it's half in verse, half in just standard writing, POV. I want to say first person too. I was obsessed with it. So you have Miles Morales, who is dealing with a racist teacher, and the teacher is trying to embarrass him in class by making him sit on the floor because he accidentally broke his desk, and the teacher's trying to make him sit on the floor, and he stands up for himself and is like, I'm not a fucking animal, I'm not going to sit on the ground. And so he gets detention along with some other kids that stood with him, and some kids who went to detention for other reasons. And he has to fight a monster that is actively trying to perpetuate and continue and engage in racism and whatnot, and oppression, and trying to get back to those old days. Ooh, terrible. And so you have Miles just trying to mentally process the fact that he is in here for terrible reasons. He's trying to process the way the world tries to make him feel small and how he's still engaging with that in his school, as well as like this monster that is also trying to continue to do that. I loved this book. I am so in awe with Jason Reynolds' writing. I want to read so much more. It actually makes me want to read more Miles Morales by him. I've never actually been super into Spider-Man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, that's never been something that called to me, but this called to me. I thought the poetry was phenomenal. The messages were amazing. I cannot wait to... I'm going to go back, like I think I said this before, I'm going to go back and do my notes for all of the books that I didn't do this year. I cannot wait to do these notes and like annotate some of this poetry, and then I will absolutely be sharing my annotations and stuff for all of these on my Patreon. Monstrous. Let's look up the description of Monstrous. I love it. You just see this cat in the window. Don't break things, kids. Don't go outside past dark, come straight home after church, and above all, never ever go into Redwood. These are the rules Latavia's aunt tells her as soon as she arrives in Sanctum, Alabama for the summer. Weird, but Latavia isn't here to solve any scary small-town mysteries. She's here for 6 weeks, and 6 weeks only. Then she's off to college and won't look back. Still, Sanctum has its perks. Mainly, the cute girl who works at the local ice cream shop. But Latavia can't ignore how strange her aunt's tiny town is. The residents are suspicious of her and at times hostile, and it's clear she's some kind of outsider. That's proven when Latavia is dragged out of her house in the dead of night into the forbidden redwood and presented as a human sacrifice to an ancient monster. Latavia won't be eaten without a fight. She'll do whatever she has to do to survive, even if that includes making a deal with the monster, endangering her crush and family, and even risking turning into a monster herself. I adore this book. I adored it. It was everything I needed in my life. It was so satisfying. I think the way it handled morally great characters was phenomenal. I think that the way it handles how people who've like been through a trauma are often dismissed when talking about those traumatic circumstances, I think that was amazing. I loved the character story. I loved the character development in this book. It was so phenomenal. I have videos that I plan on doing to talk about this book more. I do recommend checking out my review and just seeing me gush about it even more. It's truly one of my favorite books. Again, the character story. This is a character story. So, I predicted almost everything about the plot. Yes. Honey. You want to come up? Come here. Okay, this is a different cat than the earlier one, but he's crying, so we're gonna hang out with him too. But yeah, I predicted everything about the plot extremely early on, but that's not where the real, you can tell where the beat for the plot is, but the real hit, the homer is when you have those character conflicts coming back up. It's so good. There is my one issue that I had with the book. I believe I might have had something else, but I don't remember. This is also why I like to go through and annotate the books, is because I remember seeing it when reading, but I can't for the life of me remember. But there was a moment where the character was being really weird and dismissive about fat phobia, and it was not necessary and never readdressed in the book and never corrected in the book. So that I didn't like. That we didn't like. But the rest of the book, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, this is going to be a book. If you watch Jessie on YouTube, like, they read Nosferatu every year. This is gonna be mine. I kid you not, I'm this close to rereading it now. I'm so excited. I love it so much. Okay, so those are the novels. Those are just the novels that I read. The short stories I read. Night of the Living Queers. That I put over here because it felt more appropriate, but it is a short story collection of color writing stories, of like little horror stories around a blue moon on Halloween night. And I really liked it. There were some stories that I liked more than others. I think that's probably par for the course for anthologies. I do have a ton of authors that I really want to read more from. Unfortunately, that means I'm gonna have to read more horror. Like, She Is a Haunting is like pretty high on my TBR now, and I have to deal with that. I have to mentally prepare myself because I really loved that author's story, and there were several others that I really loved. Some authors that only have like currently books, more stories in other anthologies, but I'll do it. I'll do it. But yeah, it was a good time. Definitely worth a read. I also did a reading vlog for this book. It's over on the No Ordinary Vlogs channel if you want to check that out. These two, Sex and the Champagne Room and Seducing Her Fake Husband. So, I don't even want to say I'm picky with erotica, but like, I'm like, some euphemisms people use are so fucking goofy to me. And like, it just, like, that's why I gave Seducing Your Fake Husband at least a 3-star, but like, the euphemisms were weird. I didn't like it. Sex in the Champagne Room I was laughing. I was literally laughing while reading that book. I couldn't take it seriously in the slightest. And you also have, when we come back down to my DNFs, Caught Up and Strapped Up, again, the euphemisms in it, I was not feeling it. I was bored. I was unamused. And I was like, it's weird. I didn't like it. I was cringing while reading the book. So that's a struggle I'm having with erotica. Is just, I don't like all of the euphemisms people use. It bothers me. Gonna have to find some. Tuesday Harper is one author that I do really like, and I will be reading more of her. I have one other book of hers that I want to read next year, so that's exciting. So we're gonna find something for it. I'm gonna get some stuff. I'm gonna find some recommendations. What are you doing? Let me scratch you. My other DNF of the quarter was Indigo Voss. That was another arc that I got. I honestly don't even think that it was a problem that the book had, because this, I think, is like a prequel. I think, I don't even think that was the main issue. My issue with this book is the poetic language, and like, I've read books where like the poetic language can go on for a bit too long and it pulls me out of the story. I've read those. That's fine. But this book, there were like so many like metaphors and stuff that I just don't even know. Metaphors, hyperbole, like similes. I don't even, like, some of the poetic language it was doing. I don't even know what like image you're trying to get across. And I tried this right after Monsters, and I was just not enjoying myself, and it was very clear to me that I should just put it down. Like, at best, I was probably gonna give it a 2-star. I should just put the book down. So we put it down. Can't promise I'll ever get back to it. Can't promise that. Cannot. I was deeply, like, it's upsetting because there were some really, really good lines, but there was so much stuff that just felt like gibberish that we put it down. Nonfiction that I read this quarter. I read World Record Book of Most Racist Stories. I loved that. It was a fun time. It was also very cathartic to like laugh at and say, like, God, fuck you, to a bunch of stories that I also unfortunately could relate to. We loved that. Great time. Against Techno Ableism is a phenomenal book that I think everyone should read, but I think especially creatives should read to pick up on like the ableism and how we view the future and how we view a world without, like, if we were in a perfect world, like, what ableism are we employing with how we depict disability or a lack thereof in that world. I think that was an amazing read, and I absolutely want to read some of the other things that were referenced in that book as well. Like, I have the Deaf Poet Society collection on space that I really, really, really want to read. And then I read Black Panther, A Cultural Exploration, which was just a really fun look at this character and how it's, like, what impact it had over on, like, the real world around it. Almost similar to, like, music is history kind of thing. Yeah, great story. Now, for the finale, my 5-star book draft. We're not in a bad place. So my 5-star book draft is where I, at the beginning of the year, put down a bunch of books that I was like, that I predicted were gonna be 5 stars, but I don't include any, like, sequels in a series because I feel like those need to be, like, analyzed differently, or any rereads. And then I average out what they end up being, what my reviews of them and ratings of them end up being, and see how well I know myself. And, you know, we can't get them all. We can't win them all. We can't. But it's still good. I believe 4 stars is still better than it was last year. I was not having a good time with my 5-star book draft picks last year. That went horribly. I want to say maybe 3 stars. But I do have, let's see what's coming up in terms of 5-star book draft. I am currently reading a reread. My next read is going to be El Príncipe del Sol. I am going to be reading that next, and I have faith. I have faith that we're going to really, really like that book. What else am I even going to have time for in December? I don't know if I'm going to be getting to another 5-star book draft pick this year. It might just be that one. Oh, God. It's fine. It'll be like just a little bit over 4 star. That's probably going to be what we end up with. Just a little bit over a 4 star. That's fine. Wish me luck. Especially wish me luck, because that's going to be a relative tome of a book, I believe, that I'm actually going to be reading in Spanish. And I still have a problem where I keep insisting on reading books, fantasy in Spanish, as if, like, that's not full of words that are made up. It's not super long. Never mind. It's not super long. It's 344 pages. It's not excruciatingly long. I should survive, but still wish me luck, because I appreciate your emotional support. But yeah, that is all for me in terms of quarter 3. My next stream should be on the Catastrophe Incoming series. I'm very excited to talk about those. They're such good books. I'm so excited for book 3. But that is all I have right now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Valedictions fans.